Mark chapter 3. Jesus heals on the Sabbath. Jesus went into the synagogue again and noticed a man with a deformed hand. Since it was the Sabbath, Jesus' enemies watched him closely. If he healed the man's hand, they planned to accuse him of working on the Sabbath. Jesus said to the man with the deformed hand,
"Come and stand in front of everyone."
Then he turned to his critics and asked,
"Does the law permit good deeds on the Sabbath? Or is it a day for doing evil? Is this a day to save life or to destroy it?"
But they wouldn't answer him. He looked around at them angrily and was deeply saddened by their hard hearts. Then he said to the man,
"Hold out your hand."
So the man held out his hand, and it was restored. At once the Pharisees went away and met with the supporters of Herod to plot how to kill Jesus. Crowds followed Jesus. Jesus went out to the lake with his disciples, and a large crowd followed him. They came from all over Galilee, Judea, Jerusalem, Idumea, from east of the Jordan River, and even from as far north as Tyre and Sidon. The news about his miracles had spread far and wide, and vast numbers of people came to see him. Jesus instructed his disciples to have a boat ready so the crowd would not crush him. He had healed many people that day, so all the sick people eagerly pushed forward to touch him. And whenever those possessed by evil spirits caught sight of him, the spirits would throw them to the ground in front of him, shrieking,
"You are the Son of God!"
But Jesus sternly commanded the spirits not to reveal who he was. Jesus chooses the 12 apostles. Afterward, Jesus went up on a mountain and called out the ones he wanted to go with him, and they came to him. Then he appointed 12 of them and called them his apostles. They were to accompany him, and he would send them out to preach, giving them authority to cast out demons. These are the 12 he chose: Simon, whom he named Peter, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, but Jesus nicknamed them sons of thunder, Andrew, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, Judas Iscariot, who later betrayed him. The true family of Jesus. Then Jesus' mother and brothers came to see him. They stood outside and sent word for him to come out and talk with them. There was a crowd sitting around Jesus, and someone said,
"Your mother and your brothers are outside asking for you."
Jesus replied,
"Who is my mother? Who are my brothers?"
Then he looked at those around him and said,
"Look, these are my mother and brothers. Anyone who does God's will is my brother and sister and mother."
Let's be honest for a second. Sometimes life feels like you're just reacting all the time to everything. Someone disrespects you. Drama hits at home. School feels pointless. People expect you to fail anyway. Or maybe you get a yoga ball in the face. So you respond, you survive, you push back, you tough it out. But here's the question no one's asked out loud. Who's actually running your life? Is it anger, your reputation, your past, the streets, other people's expectations? Because if you don't decide who's in charge, something else will decide for you. And in Mark 3, we see Jesus walks into a situation where everyone thinks they are in charge, but Jesus shows who really is. Which leads us to our first point. Jesus sees the person everyone else ignores. We see this in Mark 3, 1-5. Jesus walks into a synagogue, basically their church building, and there's a man there whose hand doesn't work. It's shriveled up. Can you imagine that? But the religious leaders aren't thinking about helping the guy. Come on, man. They're watching Jesus like security cameras, trying to catch him doing something wrong. Why? Because it was the Sabbath. The day when people weren't supposed to work. Healing counted as work to them. So while man is sitting there suffering, they care more about rules than people. Jesus looks around the room and gets angry at their hard hearts. No, he's not being bad, right? because he was perfect. And he tells the man, stretch out your hand. And the man's hand is fully healed. Here's the thing. Everyone else saw a problem. Jesus saw a person. Some people might look at your life and only see the labels that you have. Troublemaker, lost cause, that kid from that neighborhood, the one who always messes up. But Jesus doesn't see labels. He sees you. He sees the pain that nobody talks about, the stress you carry, the stuff you pretend doesn't bother you. And he cares about you. He cares more about you than about keeping up appearances. Which leads to our second point. Jesus gives purpose to imperfect people. And so after this moment, Jesus goes up on a mountain and calls people to follow him. Then he picks 12 guys to be his closest followers. And do you know, actually these guys were like late teens to young adult age. Crazy, huh? And they weren't celebrities, they weren't religious experts, not even students. They're fishermen, regular workers. One was even a guy who used to work for the government, collecting taxes, which everyone hated. Basically, they were a random group of imperfect dudes. And Jesus says, I want you with me. Even he goes on to later call one of the fishermen to be the rock on which the church would be built on. But that's foreshadowing. Not because he didn't pick them because they had their lives together. Because he was going to change them. A lot of people think faith is for perfect people. Jesus built his team with people who were messy, confused, and still figuring life out. That means you're not disqualified. Your past doesn't scare Jesus, your mistakes don't surprise him, your situation doesn't limit him. He invites people before they're all cleaned up. And I know I've talked about this a lot with Mark, because that's a lot of what Mark is about in this first part, alright? So wait, let's pause here. Some of you have learned how to survive life by being hard-hearted. You trust nobody. You keep people at a distance. You deal with problems your own way, because depending on people has burned you before. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If anger, pride, or fear are running your life, they will destroy you eventually. You see that earlier in the Bible in Exodus with Pharaoh. He could have let the Israelites go at any time, but he had a hard heart. And those people, his people suffered for it. I mean, people died, even his own son. So, they will destroy you eventually. Not immediately, but slowly. They'll ruin your relationships, kill your peace, turn your heart not just hard, but cold. You might feel powerful in the moment, but inside you're becoming someone you never planned to be. Jesus didn't come just to forgive sins. He came to free people from the stuff controlling them. Which leads us to our third point. Jesus redefines family. So later in the chapter, Jesus' biological family shows up looking for him. People say, hey Jesus, your mother and brothers are outside. And Jesus says something shocking. He points to the people around him and says, who does God's will is my brother and sister and mother. Jesus wasn't rejecting his family. He was showing something bigger. God's family isn't just about blood. It's about belonging to him. So some people grow up with amazing families, others not so much. Maybe home is chaotic. Maybe people left. Maybe you feel like you're figuring life out on your own. Maybe you feel like you're figuring out life on your own. I've been there too. Jesus says something powerful here. You can belong to God's family, not because of where you were born, but because of who you choose to follow. And Romans 8:15 says something wild. You receive God's Spirit who makes you His child. That means when someone trusts Jesus, God doesn't treat them like a project. He adopts them. You become part of His family. So here's the big question. So what? Why should you even care about any of this? Well, the truth is something is already shaping who you become. Your environment, your anger, your habits, your influences, something is forming your future. And I know you may have heard this recently when I talked about who's driving your life, but Jesus offers something different.